Welcome to 60 Skills. And the topic of today's discussion is how to find Shambhala. All right, what is Shambhala? Well, classically speaking, this was considered to be a kind of supercharged, magical, holy place in the Himalayas that was associated with Tibetan Buddhism. Now, that said, there are many stories about these magical or near mythical realms that exist in the physical somewhere high up in the mountains. This is a fairly common concept in a lot of esoterica, so much so that it even applies to things like Greco-Roman myth, particularly the myth of Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. So the first thing you need to understand is that if you're looking to find Shambhala, there are lots of examples of Shambalas out there. So the next question you need to ask yourself is, which one are you actually looking for? Again, stories of mythical realms that are near man are pretty common. Well, as it turns out, we actually have an excellent guide to all of these. It is otherwise known as Franz Barden's second book, The Practice of Magical Evocation. Now, in the beginning of this book, you have something that is referred to as the 360 heads of the near-earth realm. Now, what these are is they are 360 schools governing basically any activity you can think of that a human being can engage in. Everything from business to leatherworking to engineering to, of course, magic, extraplanetary travels, technology, you name it, so on and so on and so on. But 60, these aren't physical places. You're right, they're not physical places. What they are is they are things that exist in the low astral, potentially etheric realm of existence. So this is your first clue as to how to go about finding one of these. Now, of course, Franz Barden has conveniently listed a bunch of them right here in his book. There are, in fact, others. Now, if you go looking for one of these places, there are a couple of different things that you personally need to be able to do. One of these is, of course, mental travel, or what we call mental wandering in hermetics. Not to be confused with astral travel, that's a slightly different animal, but it is something you're going to need to be able to do. You're going to need to be able to leave your physical body using your mind and travel to one of these near-earth realms. 2, you're going to need to have decently developed enough clairvoyance and clairaudience to have a conversation with whatever lies on the other side. This is pretty much the bare minimum for finding Shambhala. 3, you need to have a very good idea of what you are looking for. Random mental wandering, astral tripping, you name it, is generally a colossal waste of time. Doing this because you have a reason, on the other hand, can be pretty valuable, particularly if the technology that you're looking for isn't readily available in your timeline or location of where you live. Now, this leads us to the next part that rarely gets spoken about. You have to have something for the spirit entities or beings to reflect off of. So, if you're wanting to be a master of hydrology, and I've told this story before, but you haven't studied hydrology in college, or you haven't worked as an apprenticed hydrologist somewhere, it's going to be really hard to have a conversation with these things because there's not going to be a whole lot there to reflect off of. So this is where it's incumbent upon you as an individual to do the work you can in the here and now. You have to have some kind of knowledge base to go to one of these places to learn anything. They cannot, in general, just spontaneously impart large amounts of information, let alone ability, into you. There has to be something to work with. And this is the part that rarely gets said and almost never gets said out loud. What you are able to deal with in the spirit world is highly contingent upon who you are in the physical world. So if you're a doctor, you're going to get lots of doctoring information. If you're a resolute drug addict with a sex addiction, well, that's probably the kind of information you're going to get. This process of reflection is the most important part governing interactions between human beings and the spirit world. The entities are going to reflect off of you, and whatever you are, you're going to get some version of on the other side. Why this is exactly, nobody's exactly sure. I mean, in theory, the technology we have in hand should allow us to communicate with virtually anybody. The problem is, it doesn't appear to be entirely that clear regarding how a lot of this works. Again, what is abundantly clear is what you get from the other side has a lot to do with who you are and how you comport yourself. This is one of the reasons why in all the classical works on evocation, they talk about, hey, brush your teeth, wear clean clothes, take a holy bath, don't stink, burn a little incense, don't commit any grievous or mortal sins in a few day period before you go in to do the practice, and so on and so on and so on. Because frequently, the negative manifestations or negative entities that people end up conjuring up are really more a reflection of their own nature off of whatever is on the other side. Now, this is not to say that there are not truly negative entities out there. There are. But more often than not, the negative entity that gets manifested and results in a horrible experience, largely the result of people not taking care of their work on their end. So, those are some basics involving how to find Shambhala, or Shambhala, or however you want to pronounce it. I don't speak Tibetan, don't ask me. That said, there is an additional category of thing that you probably want to pay some attention to. All right, we've talked about how, being able to make the trip is important. Having the subtle senses developed to have the conversation is important. Having some knowledge of the subject matter you're going after and a specific idea of what it is you want to look at, also important. And, the requirement for good hygiene and the like, so you minimize the opportunity to have a bad experience. All of which is important. Good show. There's one other little category of thing that sometimes gets left out. The ability to send the entities you're dealing with away. These things, regardless of what they actually are, don't appear to have physical bodies. They do appear to have the ability to act 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you don't have some ability to control the frequency and duration of the interaction, these things can essentially heckle and or hound you for an unlimited period of time. As a human being, not good. So, to send them away, you need to have access and control over your own Akasha. Now, whether this is through a ritual medium or through an internal power medium, I'm agnostic as to. But you have to have the ability to tell them to go away and stay away. Otherwise, they're apt to stick around and cause all kinds of problems. This problem is even more pronounced if you accidentally conjure up something that wasn't really what you're looking for in the first place. Or if you weren't careful with your preparations and bring something into form that is a negative reflection of what you're looking for in the first place. So these are all things that involve how to find Shambhala. Now, I could talk a lot more about this, but those are the main issues. Just keep in mind that any human endeavor you have has a corresponding school on the subtle worlds. And this can allow you access to information that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get access to because of your timeline or limitations of where you live. Now again, as per usual, your ability to act upon this is a whole other thing. Now, if you'd like to learn more about this, come check out the 60 Skills curriculum at Perseus Arcane Academy, or go to 60skills.com. Specifically, you're going to be interested in either the Master course or the Kabbalah course. Otherwise, as usual, train hard and be well.